I've got to tell you, I'm excited about this show, late show. Glad to see that's Rocky. You're here. I hope you're still here. You had to wait a couple of minutes. I don't know what's with that, me not being on time. I'm usually a very punctual person. This has been a semester, right? Quarter of the way through 2025. It's flying by. Every day's been an adventure. And today was a big day because, when I first got here, I minored in art and as an artist, I found out that it was connected to Leadville, Colorado, did a paper on it, did videos on it, how the Guggenheim sold out at the top of the market. And it wasn't until today that the Lord showed me that America's number one racist back pre-World War II. Can we kind of agree that Charles Lindbergh would be in the mix for who is that number one racist? And he's hanging out with a Jewish guy so that they would fund rocket research. And I found that out today. That was a big deal, a big deal. Still more to come on that. And how do you follow that up? I like to do 2 videos a day. The Lord said, let's do it this way. So let's do it this way. I'll just, you can see it's Titanic failure. By the thumbnail, you should be able to tell. By the thumbnail, you should be able to tell it's going to be a fair use disclaimer because we're going to be looking at a lot of those things. Look at that. Did I not take any pictures? Thought I had one at least. And you'll be looking at this later. Which one is Werner von Braun? Oh, that's him right there with his back to us holding on to the submarine. The Ben Franklin, they were just studying the depths of it. NASA and the other Werner von Braun types were there going to be like, I'm checking it out. And this is people had to, the Titanic. Basically, get rid of the big money people that won't comply, start the implementation of the creature from Jekyll Island. Oh my goodness, did I get into the thing here without even doing my monologue? I just skipped right over it. Usually I read these things first and then I show the disclaimer, but you were supposed to have seen probably something like this. Just a minute. I'm probably usually smoking, trying to hide my cigarette. Big day for me today, discovering that jet propulsion ties into the art, because Hunter Biden's art, how did he pay for all that stuff to stay and get his pardon for his dad? The loopholes that the art world and the Guggenheims, and it started in Leadville, Colorado with the stock market crash. How strange the world looks at me. How can the world look at me? Do I feel guilty when the world looks at me as Flat Earth Nation? That guy, Salt Paco, the guy that said Golden Age is past. No, not even one bit. How strange I end up teaching the Titans were gods called Elohims in the Bible. And because they sinned, they died like men and are reserved in judgment until that day with a capital D. And I almost went into a little segment. And that rhymes with P, and that stands for pool or something like that. Titans, Titanic, alleged satanic panic, designed to occupy unchanged hearts and minds. Keep the thoughts away from them while other people are paying big money. Did you see that thumbnail? They pay big money because they want to go see the Titanic because it's hard to do. And it's so famous. Over 112 years ago, it sunk. And now they want to go visit it so they can go, hey, cool, look, the Titanic or something like that. Why else are they doing it? Because they got the money, they got the time, and they obviously had the inclination. Well, let's just see where it goes. Of course, we're not starting with that. I'm going to point out that Conspiracy R Us made his 1 a week video, and it's got a lot of views already. 9 hours ago, 5,000 views. It is strange that only 6 of these organs are here. Where's here? Venice in America. Oh no, more weird stuff. Everything's weird, right?
Something referred to as the Grand Tour, where rich people were traveling to Italy and bringing back paintings and sculptures and things like this. And that could account for some of these things. But
Some people, rich people, still do that. A lot of rich people are sorry that they had to cancel their trip to go see the Titanic at the bottom of the ocean because the other people died.
I just feel like there were these two phases, and the older phase, I think, really lends itself to potentially Venice, the
Yeah,
Italian
Moicanthus
Renaissance,
plant,
and I just
molds
wanted to
of.
point that out. Now, when you look at the wall itself,
You know what? I have heard it all before Conspiracy R Us. It's crazy, right? Look, so the Ocean Gate. Who else thinks it's convenient, that it's already a gate? I hope you've heard of Pizzagate. I know you've heard of Watergate. What are some of the other? There's other gates, and Ocean Gate just provided its own situation. They're calling it an implosion. We'll look at it later or maybe, hopefully, we will in one of the web pages. But an implosion? Does this look like it imploded? We know what an explosion is. Something goes out, and now the pressure is causing it to. A spark from the outside explodes it in. They're confused about it. It's nothing. Nothing is as cut and dried. And the people in the world, they're fascinated with this. Well, some of the people in our world have been trying to fight this Atlantis no God movement or alien UFO thing that seems to be relentless. There's other people out there paying for trips to the bottom of the ocean to see the Titanic, and this imploded. It doesn't look like it was a beer can that got crushed. It's still round.
Gun and caused the flaws that led to the implosion, what I would say is not so fast. It
Hold
may
on.
represent hull damage, but
What?
not quite the fatal flaw.
Huh?
There are two significant things that happened after the 2020.
So while you and other people called, hopefully chosen, going to be faithful to the end, have been studying the important stuff. There's people out there, they're still focused on this from a couple years ago and going like, we got to get to the bottom of this, man. Why can't we make money taking people to the bottom of the ocean anymore? They think that they stored it outside in Newfoundland where temperatures got below freezing. Well, no kidding. I'll bet they were well below freezing. And so maybe that damaged it anyway, but go ahead.
Ocean Gate oceanographer and chief scientist think.
What were your thoughts if you were diving in a subsequent dive? Did you have any concerns?
Yes, I was concerned and asked their chief engineer, Phil Brooks, if he was concerned. He said that this noise was a concern and that the Ocean Gate team was focused on trying to determine the source of the noise, and that would influence whether we.
Yeah, well, they were all worrying about that, and I was just worrying about, is it going to be called Ocean Gate Gate? She went down there. She was a graduate student, gonna get an internship, working on some money, and she was going like, "No, wait a minute. What do you mean there was a loud crack like a gun going off?"
The director of engineering or the acoustic emission data that corresponded with the customer's report of this loud explosion sound. And he said, well, Stockton and I looked at
It had to be an explosion sound. Otherwise, they wouldn't have made 3 more trips and then imploded.
the data, and we did see movement in the hole in the strain gauge data.
If that dive 80 anomaly was a problem, was there any consideration of doing like an unmanned test dive after that event?
I don't think so.
You know what? Because you don't make any money on unmanned testing, but that's just one of the things, man. We got to talk about what I talked about today. This is groundbreaking. H2O2, the Jewish Guggenheim hanging out with the Lindbergh, ending up funding the V2 rockets. They talked about Goddard. More co-immunoprecipitation experiments.
They tried to disprove this. They did not like the idea of
Nine wounds, 4 to President Kennedy,
Why
5
they
to
show
Governor
that
Connally.
again?
Presented the commission with another.
Convinced beyond any question of a doubt that the first shot that was fired did not hit me. Then I was hit. And I was not then, and I have no memory, no recollection of the sound of the shot that hit me. And beyond any question of a doubt, the third shot did not hit me. Ms. Connally has the very definite feeling, a very strong conviction that the first shot that was fired hit the president. The second shot that was fired hit me. The third shot that was fired hit the president. It's unquestionable.
Now, this is after the Warren Commission released that one shot hit them both and caused 5 or 6 different wounds in many different locations on both bodies of the president and the governor of Texas. So the Warren Commission comes out, him and his wife call a press conference, and they're telling them this. No, there were at least, I didn't get hit by the first shot. He got shot, and I was looking around, and then I got shot, and I screamed out, "Oh my God, they're going to kill us all."
Questionably, when the first shot was fired, I recognized it as a shot. I thought of nothing else but that it was a rifle shot. I turned to my right. I had time to think. I had time to react. And I turned to my right to look back over my right shoulder to see if I could see anything unusual, and particularly to see if I could catch him out of the corner of my eye. Because I immediately thought,
him, you mean
the president. Because I immediately thought of an assassination attempt the moment I heard the shot. I didn't see anything except just the general blur of waving of people moving. Nothing really unusual. I did not see the president out of the corner of my eye, and I was in the process of turning back to look over my left shoulder. And had about come to the point.
This sounds like what he went through, and he's just basically saying, look, I didn't get hit by the same bullet that blew the president's head off.
Where I was looking straight forward again when I felt the impact of the bullet that hit me. But I know I wasn't hit with the first shot. And then I was hit. And I know I wasn't hit with the third shot. That much I'm absolutely sure of.
Mrs. Connally, who was seated alongside her husband, also took issue with the one bullet, two victim theory. She testified. It was just a frightening noise, and it came from the right. I turned over my right shoulder and looked back and saw the president as he had both hands at his neck. And it seemed to me he made no utterance, no cry. I saw no blood, no anything. It was just sort of nothing. The expression on his face, and he just sort of slumped down. Then very soon, there was the second shot that hit John. As the first shot was hit and I turned to look at the same time, I recall John saying, "Oh, no, no, no." Then there was a second shot, and it hit John. And as he recoiled to the right, just crumpled like a wounded animal to the right, he said, "My God, they're going to kill us all."
And if you're waiting for more, I need some more information. I hope they release some more JFK files. They knew the day after. And everybody was, you either get on board who's going to be in the Super Bowl, This was November, December was the Super Bowl then, I think. And, let's just, life goes on. And no, it was the lone shooter. And, the governor's going like, nope, that's not right. Gerald Ford from the Warren Commission gets appointed president later with the Rockefeller. They hired JFK's enemies to be on the Warren Commission, and we're still looking for more fake atomic weapons, fake math, all leading up to 9/11, 2001. That started the last 45 years. This is just how we were getting into it. He sold out everything at the top of the market, but it's coming because this is his rockets.
He was able to think of things, and he was able to write about them and theorize.
We can't trust you, Mr. NASA boy.
Might have been earthbound, but he was in his own private paradise.
Yay.
For the next
Look
10
at that
years,
rocket.
Goddard
Doesn't
and
look
his
very
crew
heavy,
would
does
haul
it? Looks like a
increasingly
balloon. I'm
sophisticated
kidding.
rockets from their workshop
Maybe.
to the launch pad.
That's not a
and
balloon
ignite
because
them.
balloons bend. Whoa, do they
He
automatically
called his
adjust?
failures, and there were many, valuable negative information. Despite the failures, Goddard
Army got interested in rocketry as essentially a replacement for artillery and proceeded to fund
This is our world. This is what it's become. Right now, it's like, how much money can we spend to send to Ukraine and Israel? We've got to Iron Dome them with missiles, new artillery, new military industrial complex monies that make enough for some people that are in the world that hate flat earth, hate the Bible. I got this extra $1 million. Maybe I can go down and look at the Titanic. Sure.
Lavishly for the time, a set of researchers.
They funded it with fiat money. They were printing fiat money and using slave labor. Come on. Germans were not the good guys.
Technology.
The lead scientist was Werner von Braun.
Oh, we heard of him.
After Hitler came to power,
He came to work
he
for the
demanded
United
a
States.
vengeance rocket. Von Braun's team shifted into high gear in a secret facility near
One thing's for sure that we know about the Nazis, right? They loved those leather trench coats. They just loved them.
town of Peenemünde. There, they designed and tested the terror.
That looks just like Goddard's missile. Maybe that's why the Nazi-loving Charles Lindbergh was funding the Goddards with the Guggenheims, giving them a new test facilities, giving him anything he wanted. And he patented this design so that later when the Germans brought it and gave it to NASA, they sued NASA and said, "You're using my design, that give me the money." And they said, reluctantly, okay.
V2. It could hit target.
It just looks like they perfected the Goddard stuff that he had patented. Hey, I just said that, Paco. Right? When they built the Crystal Palace out of 5,000 tons of ice. This is after Guggenheim left and took all the money and left everybody broke in Colorado. We're still broke. They were body parts. I talked about how they were burning people for their metal. The JLo, the JATO, jet assist takeoff using hydrogen peroxide. It's all for this very thin nozzle, and that causes the thinner the nozzle, the better the shape. Shoots out this. It's what they call steam, which is basically H2O2. Give me steam. I will remind you, and then you'll say that seems right. It's water vapor, and it's going to disappear like contrails used to disappear when I was a young man in the 60s, and then sold out at the top of the market. It was a led for the steam revolution, mining town that was like always Colorado. They worked the people here like slaves, thought they had a bunch of money, and then boom, now there goes the stock market part over here. That's Leadville today. Just the aerial shot. That's it. 2 Mile High City. The mines were out here. It's Cloud City. They wrote the thing. Here's a part where I'm talking about even in the United States in the 1919 when the Ku Klux Klan was taking over, and the United States was like South Africa, an apartheid nation for, well, until 1940. Even the black people were in the, you can see the second line here, free and accepted Masons. There's Masons in every town. You know, do you know any Masons? Do you know anybody running around going like, I love being in the Masons. It's what we do. They all did it, but then war.
Other immigrants coming from overseas, but the opportunity for immigrants to come from overseas is dried up because of the war in Europe. And so factory owners, factory managers,
somebody's got to make the bombs,
are looking for labor. What seems strange is that because race relations are so bad, you would think that whites in the South would say, good, be gone, we don't want you, we don't need you. But African Americans are needed in the South because they provide the labor for the Southern economy.
So refresh your memory with a look of it in 1879. This must be it. Was this still the Bible times when they were living there? How much of history is a rewrite? Sergio popped on. This was the ice palace, 5,000 tons of ice, 180,000 board feet of lumber, had a roller skating rink, and you know, they were trying to make it because that's what people do after, you know, a reset. The racist, it's all right there. And today we got Titans. And you know, add this to your history. Look at this guy. That kind of looks like one of those jet assist takeoff things, right? What's he doing there? Pope Honorius III. Allegedly, he wrote a satanic book, supposed to be a monk. Oh, really? That's Honorius III right there. There's his coin. SPASPE, Papa Bulla. Bulla. There he is, contemplating like the thinker with his hand on his chin. One of these guys that goes back to, you know, these times, tutor to the young Frederick, Papal States, sure. But supposedly, you know, they can trace it all the way back to Peter. There's a group of people who claim that there's this grimoire of Pope Honorius III. And they say that it was really written in the 1700s, claims to have been written by the Pope we looked at this time. But they don't want you to believe this book. They want you to think, no, the Pope didn't write this. This is all made up. Pseudepigraphical. Somebody just put his name on it. They'll tell you what to believe and what not to believe. It's unique among the grimoires, which basically is a book that just, well, I'll prove it to you. We'll look it up. It teaches, it's strictly black magic. It's a book of spells, magic book, spell book. So that Pope is said to have written it, but they're just fighting that. No way. He's the Pope. He wouldn't do that. First known edition came at the end of the Golden Age, close to the end of the Golden Age, within 100 years. It was likely forged roughly 400 years after, blah, blah, blah. It was his hidden book that taught spells. I guess some people would only say, oh, no, they only keep the other ones out of the Bible that teach about Enochian giants. And I believe in the giants. I believe in the Watchers. They were the good guys. I believe in the Gibborim. They were the good guys. The Nephilim, well, there was at least one bad one, but most of the giants were just looking for a wife to raise a family. They weren't all Goliaths, like saying, let's go to war, but give them enough money, they'll go fight. But it's nothing like the insanity of what they're teaching. So they're saying it appeared in 1629, likely forged. It is a malicious and somewhat clever imposture, which was undeniably calculated to deceive ignorant persons of its period whom may have been magically inclined. May have been? You think they were? They're hanging witches. Everything was crazy. They had an inquisition going on. People didn't know, like, what if I deny the Trinity, you're going to tear my skin off? Yeah. If you deny the Trinity, we're going to tear your skin off. Why? Well, we love you. We want you to be a good Christian. You said you're going to tear my skin off. So not much of a thing. Also see this. What's this? The type of honky sorcery often referred to as witchcraft. Okay. What did you just call it? Witchcraft? Goatia. Books contain instructions for performing magical practice. Goatia finds its origins in the Greek word goes. Does this jacket go with my pants? Yes. Do the pants make my ass look big? Oh, so you want to fight? That's what I heard on a TV show one time. A guy showed a clip. It was funny because the guy's wife said, "Do these pants make my butt look big?" And the guy just said, "Oh, so you want to fight today?" Because he wasn't going to answer that.
Europe. I don't want to give that money and those assets to Putin to share with China. If we help Ukraine now, they can become the best.
So that's him advocating for more war.
Wow, really? Trump is dealing and getting booed because he's draining the swamp by putting the Mr. Come Hither look to me, any man that, has a little bit, looks tipsy. Watch out for that come hither look from Lindsey Graham. That's what I've heard. I don't know. I've never even met him.
We need help sometimes. Republicans shouldn't need help on the left, but he helps me.
Here it goes again.
Again, Senator Lindsey Graham, who is really got. I'm going to have to work. I'm going to have to work on these people. I'm going to have to.
He's mad at him, but then he hired him. At Lindsey Graham, he's not one of us, but then he hired him.
Going to Ukraine again. That's what he's bragging. That's what he's here touting.
Because it's basically all the money. What, you think Trump did this on his own because he's such a good businessman? He's not a puppet of the mob. The mobs run the world. Heroin sales are a big deal to the people who run this world. I don't even know what this is about.
On. I'm coming at you like you've never seen. Never in your life before have you seen the way in which I will come at you. I'm more popular than you in Kentucky, and you know it. I'm going to back your primary opponent, and you're going to lose.
All right. That is supposed to be passing for comedy. I wanted to just tell you that's what people are working about. Why did Werner Braun stand on that submarine? That's him with his back to us on the Ben Franklin, named for the American patriot who discovered the Gulf Stream. So they wanted to study that. And this, submarine took as long as some of the world fairs to put together. And Jacques Picard was on it. That Jacques Picard, the guy who did the balloon and said it looks like a disc upturned at the edge a little bit. 30-day famous drift dive off the East Coast is 1969. So 2023, they finally got carbon fiber thing. I want to go see the Titanic. Got $1 million? I sure do. Let's go. And they would show them. They made 6 successful trips, showed people the Titanic. Should have probably done a test drive on that second, after the, but that imploded. Griffin Trawler. He was on it. So there's Ocean Gate. There's Ocean Gate, not Ocean Gate. This was just how to make money. They were starting off. This is just to go on, a deep water expedition in 2012. And they were, they did 130 dives, pretty deep, but everybody kept wanting to go deeper. These citizen scientists, like citizen rocket makers, that end up, somehow open oceans for all humanity. 40 grand. And they weren't even getting to see the Titanic. Nothing even close to that deep. There it is. So they have this big window. Let's go look at the Titanic. You want to go see the Titanic? That was his big thing. I can take you there. You'll get to hang out here. Look at that. Fancy. There's that same window. This was a beginning model when they were charging 40 grand, because not everybody can say, I went down and saw such and so. And the big dog was the Titan. And you'd get it sit right here, depending, maybe if you paid a little more. There's Trent Tresh. He's the driver. And yeah, he's using a Nintendo thing. They hooked up a Nintendo gamepad hand controller to guide go see the Titanic, because this one's safe, but then it wasn't safe. That imploded. It doesn't seem that would be the pressure of an implosion. There's the guy. So it was pretty cramped. Here, this is the window that you want to look out. So size of 2 people, and I think they'd take 4 down at a time. And it just went, well, there it is. There's the aft. Is that the imploded? Did get pushed. I mean, when bubbles break, they break strange, right? They didn't make it halfway. They didn't get to see the Titanic. There's some salvage of it. Pretty clear shot. Not much going on the ocean floor there. covering the dome, Titans. This, while we've been getting into the Star Forge, baby, and everything else, this is their world. Look at me. The Cyclops 1 submersible. This is a prototype. It's on display right now. Hey, this is the one that saw the Titanic, something like it, 6 times. He did it. Stockton Rush. Ocean Gate. We also went over today about how, the beast, the image in 12, how the new possibility for the 1,260 days, if you didn't see the video I did this morning, what was going on when the serpent poured water like a river out of its mouth? Well, this was all going to go on when, the accuser of the brethren had been thrown down. And we, kind of remember that after the disciples went out, Jesus said, go out, don't take anything with you. They came back and we're going like, man, we were casting out demons and everything was great. That's where we are today. John Thomas, I didn't hear you pop on there. You still in?
What's going on, brother?
What's happening, man?
I seen your deal about the Mandela effect the other day. I seen that you're still doubting it.
I still doubt it. Yeah, I don't doubt it. I know they used it as a psyop. How hard would it be when they know only 25 years later they're going to be able to go like, oh my goodness, I remember Dolly wore braces. How hard is that to pre-plan?
I still hold that it's God's warning to us. I had a little a word to keep an eye on for you to make a believer out of you. The word Judea in your Bible, that has changed and it started to change back. If you look in your old King James, the word Judea is spelled wrong. It's spelled Judaea, kind of like Judea. And it was the same way in the New King James just the other day. And when I was reading again, it's back to Judea, like we all remember it. And all
right. Well, maybe get some things together, email me, and we can talk about it some more. But right now, the world with me is, it's obvious that, who should people be listening to? In my world, it's me, because the Lord used this ministry. Nobody would be talking about the golden age past, or that the mud flood was Armageddon, or even thinking about it, unless the Lord used my ministry in the way that that has been documented for all this time. And when everybody else is talking about it, they're adding distractions. They're adding UFOs. They're adding Atlantis. I am sticking with the Bible, and that's why I thank you for coming on. Stay in touch, and we'll see you around. But in the meantime, this is a flat earth nation. The golden age is past because the mud flood was Armageddon. Then there was the 1,000 years that Jesus, ruled with a rod of iron. The wheats were with the tares. And then there was the reaping of that at the 1,000 years when Satan gets loosed. Now, we know all about the orphan trains. We found this. We couldn't build it in a year. It's all made up history. That's because me and my friends are never going to tell you anything, but this is a flat earth nation with the golden age past, because the mud flood was Armageddon. And he's told me everything he said was true. The last thing I thought was the stones were crying out. Then, oh my goodness, no. Jesus said it was that generation, so we had to make that work. The stones had to cry out. The body parts of the Titan were right there waiting. And now there's a narrow road that are going to consider that, or they're going to try to make enough money to go see the Titanic. Amen. Hallelujah. Aho. Aloha. Arrivederci. Ciao. Sayonara. Auf Wiedersehen. Danke, man.